Hi everyone, it's Adrian Leah. This is going to be a really long channeled message video. I'll see if there's a good amount of time for the tarot reading. Otherwise, I'll make this part one because I have an average of like an hour long video for the ones on my laptop, and then I try to do around like 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, or 10 to 20 minutes on my phone so that it uploads at an okay speed. I am going through the signs, the days, months, energy. This reading is also associated with Leo. Welcome, Leo. Welcome if you're another sign, and welcome if you have Leo in another part of your chart. Again, these are really specific messages, particularly this one. It does connect to the other readings that have been kind of, I almost want to refer to them as chapters. I may make one manuscript of the notes that I have. I feel like it'll be maybe a short story in a way, or it could turn into something more lengthy. So it starts off with the grandfather spirit saying that he'll be appointed a spirit team. And I was thinking, and with that, communicating that aside from divine beings and help from spirits, I know I usually work alone. I tend to be a lone wolf, and the grandfather spirit reiterated, you're going to be appointed the spirit team. It is of that nature, and you'll need a team. So it makes sense because the night before, there were the grandparents, and they were sitting at a table, um, both concerned, mega concerned, more than I've seen them be before. Um, and I feel like that was the help that he was trying to find for me, because the night before he was saying, I'm not sure how I can help you with this. And I was like, you don't want to talk to me anymore? Um, but the journey that I knew that I would most likely come to was going to be one of those lengthy, intense ones that the two beings that were appointed, one was like an ogre-like being, respectively, who wasn't human or isn't human and has traveled to places like these before. The other one is the Sun Master that was walking the mind of the bear after the vision of the bear being taken under. So the Ascended Master is like genderless, paper, like the complexion is just white. Um, so sorry, there is a spider. Like it was like a really tiny one. I think it was a spider, and um, it was super pale, and I hope because it just like sped away, and I'm like, I hope it doesn't get closer. But it's probably because it's been raining a lot lately. So with the story, we start making our way through this hallway, and I was like, well, this is what it is, and I will do what I need to do. So I turned to the Ascended Master and I asked, so what do you do? And the response was, um, basically, stop talking, stay focused, and don't wander. And I'm like, great. But I did ask one more question. I asked, what are we retrieving? And the response was memory. So we get to the door of hell. And I guess I took a while, or I took a couple seconds because, I was just gonna go do this thing. And in the ogre's mind, I took too long. So I got pushed to go through the door. And well, at the moment where we were there, um, I guess we were in an area. Well, the ogre took us to an area where it wasn't so populated because it was because the people were working on this building of rubble, this kind of building that they kept working on, but it would never be complete. On the other side, um, and the Ascended Master gave me, uh, before we came across anything like this cloak of light. So the light was, it's almost like insulated on the inside. And it also gave invisibility in a way too. So I put it on, I put the hood on to it so I'm covered. And the area also is like a desert, like the desert that was reminiscent of the mind of the bear when he was set under the last type of encounter. And I had to climb the wall of rubble, and it took a couple of times because I'm not athletic. So I fell a couple of times, but I eventually made it through an opening, not necessarily a window, but just because it's run down, just like an opening to get us in. And immediately when we got in, I saw light, and the light was shining blue and yellow. It wasn't exactly in the room, it was like light coming from somewhere else. So we came across a couple spirits, and we did come across a demon. And just to be on the safer side, um, we prayed over it, and then the Ascended Master like took out this talisman like thing as it was doing it, and it started to screech. So I'm not sure if I accidentally, if I wasn't paying attention, like I bumped into a spirit, and then like the disguise was kind of like wonky. I felt like maybe I didn't have my hood on enough, or like my sleeve wasn't um, all the way down, because immediately like the Ascended Master kind of like shoved my hood back on and did something to one of the rooms that were there as if it was like a white room of light, of like healing, and kind of just pushed me in there to heal whatever happened, because the vision that I got was so specific and it was like straight to my face. I was like, because I was going through these visions and it was me, and the reflection was me with like, I was like, I had smoke, it was like charred up all on my face, and then there were burns specifically like on my forearm and on my cheek. It started to like bubble because of the burns. And so, and then my hair was like as if, I had a hood on, kind of. So I immediately, after I got healed enough, because we had to like get this done because you don't want to get there when it gets dark. I mean, it's interesting because, you would think like with the daylight, it's not good either, but the darkness is like darker than you've ever seen. So we make it up the stairs because it's all the way at the top. And there's this spirit just like ferociously like working on something. Like, I was so fixated on doing something. It was like, and it was not really paying us any mind, to be honest. So um, we come across the box, and this box, it looks like it has this stone, almost like a worry stone type of thing, almost kind of like maybe like labradorite, because but the stone is like blue and yellow, and it didn't belong there, so we took it, and we just kind of booked it, because usually, like, especially when you're driving back from somewhere, like, in general, that it's faster than when you're driving to the location. So we ended up at this library type of area. It kind of felt like the Swiss Alps. Like, it was so in the mountains and so secluded, and we were in the like this area of secret knowledge in the building, a library. And we were examining the stone, and I was like, how do you get the memory out of it? And the Ascended Master was basically like, you went to the depths of hell to get this. Do you really think it would have been that easy? Sorry, second. Would it have been that easy to encrypt it? Because it felt like it was encrypted in a way. I'm sorry, it's kind of muggy out, and it's getting super hot in this area because it's kind of, technically it's in the south of the US, so it was hotter than when I was up to visit my godmother because she's up north. So there's the spider, the bugs. I'm so sorry, but um, I held it in my hand, and I heard it say paper, but it wasn't in English, it was in Spanish, so it said Babel. And then I had a vision of a um like a book. It was maybe like a history book or some type of reference book. It wasn't like a novel or anything. And honestly, I was kind of, just gonna tap it a little on the table. And then the Ascended Master's like, don't break it. And I'm like, all right. And so I got another vision too of like a sepia toned old film when I was holding it, and it was just like a film of landscape. And it held remnants of like blacker, not so good energy. So we prayed over it, and then this black spider like being came out of the stone and started growing. And it prayed, and we prayed over it, and the Ascended Master was like covering their nose, and it and said sulfur, and prayed again, and then this archangel came out of the air, leaped, came out of the air, leaped, and stabbed the spider with the sword. And the spider ripped apart and dissipated. And so, I guess different applications of pressure or things to do with it. Um, but I mean, I'm not equipped in that way. So it was like a learning process for me. I mean, it was kind of like see and feel what was supposed to be done with it. So I cleansed it in pure water, and the water, it was like it started to bubble, and then this rainbow came out, and then the vision, it was almost like short stories, or I'm sorry, short videos of like like laughing, like people laughing and with their family, movie night, daughter's first ballet recital, and all these happy memories. And then it just came to mind, these aren't the memories of the bear, these are memories of the rabbits. And of course, that's why it didn't belong there. And these were memories that were taken from them. So that was the the channeled message, and there's still time to do the tarot reading. So let me pull out some cards. Um, and then in the previous video, I also came across that Holy Spirit who went back to the fields and land and protected, did more healing there. It was interesting to note too because before the spirit went back to the land, there was this other being that tried to intercept it. And I'm gonna go more into, we'll look more into it. And so the cards that turned over were the Eight of Cups and Four of Swords. And with that, it's interesting because it's like mentally going inward, and a lot of these kind of artwork that are spirit like, the way that I saw that spirit really stand out to me, and in the last reading that I did for the daily message. Because the Four of Swords is a very um, mentally going inward type of energy for this. And then with the Eight of Cups, it's like what happened in here went out through to there. And with the Queen of Cups is also intuitive as well, and or even psychic. And it just feels like what you saw in the stars, since there's starfishes there, that's what was a catalyst to initiate this part of the journey. And with the Six of Cups, it's not a bad thing that I see this as reverse, because that's like the first thing that came to mind. And it's also in the future card. Um, so something tells me that it's able to be paved and not just things of the past. Like with the fawn there, it's able to be safer to be in an environment where it can grow. It's not going to, for some parts, it's not going to have to worry about things trying to um, put it in any danger because it's still in the wild. But with the guide there, or with something that protects it, such as that mother or figure that gives that nurturing energy that I feel like is linked to the Queen of Cups, that gives it more of like the confidence and even again the protection to keep going and to grow. And with that, it feels that like the wish is becoming reality too, because there's this Six of Coins, the Six of Pentacles, and one can say it's making the dreams into reality. Because with coins, it's something that is done in a physical way. It has some type of groundwork that's there. Can be more established, and that's linked to the Four of Wands, because you have the Four of Wands here too. And with the Four of Wands, with it being such a foundational card, being a four, and with the two figures that are together, in a way they look after each other, and that plays a vital role with the Justice card too. And I have said this, karma never forgets, and you will get your compensation. With the Four of Swords, this is a repeat, but with this Four of Swords, it feels like the other end of the stick, or the short end. Like it's the other party. Not in the Four of Wands, but the energy that really upped the antics or really caused such destructive behavior. Because I feel like the rabbits wouldn't have chose this. A lot of quiet energies because you also have the Two of Swords too. Because the Four of Swords, is, specifically with this one, that is another energy, goes with the Two of Swords. And you see that the angel has their eyes closed. This is really when you're in silence, that's when you get the answers. And even when it's loud and chaotic in the background or surrounding you, to be able to quiet your mind and make sure that you're able to think clearly in those situations. I feel like that could have been more of like a directness too, or a forewarning in a way, because you have the Five of Swords here. And also thinking about the Four of Wands too, because if that's your team, and even with the Six of Coins, there's the duality there too with those two figures, even though it's a six. Um, that could be a lot of words. And with that, sometimes you go through conversations and that turns into more into like arguments or spitefulness because of something that somebody is most likely said because rather than done because it's the sword suit. And even though those words maybe only lasted a couple of seconds, it has a lasting effect and takes place in your life a lot longer than what is beneficial in that regard. A little bit of relentlessness. I mean, it can be applied in specific ways, but um, it doesn't need to be destructive if it's not mandatory. Because we think of Kali too, which tends to be associated with destruction and what it brings. But that would be more for wanting to have that change, or maybe even not wanting to have that change, but what cycle keeps going on, or the things that you keep going through, another person keeps going through, or the world. Something needs to change, and that's why the destruction comes. I'm not saying that specifically for this Four of Swords, but I'm just saying in general for um, with choosing those words and the actions wisely and tactfully in some ways too. Especially if you were put in a situation that, um, again, wasn't really something desirable for anyone, really. Is the Eight of Swords and the Seven of Coins. And I feel with this, it backtracks a little, going into 7. And this could be where the team, even though there is a foundation there, since it has one figure on here, it kind of reminds me of like one person may not know how destructive they can be, or how maybe some actions can seem thoughtless. And I say that with, of course, it doesn't dismiss it, but with that Eight of Swords, this person is blindfolded and it doesn't see all those swords surrounding her. So it does take a little bit of time and maybe even a healing process, even though maybe he or she doesn't really think they need as much healing as maybe another person thinks. Maybe that destructive behavior, over directedness, or relentlessness comes from that form in some, or comes from that origin in some way. And I I feel as long as like, because with the hair, it can grow at a steady pace, but when you grow your hair out, it's it's a process. So I do feel like it might be a process for those Five of Swords to dissipate as much as it can, so that the other person that's in that Four of Wands, that's in that foundational card with that um, soulmate, or like a soulmate or partnership, um, soulmate in that partnership, can be more aware about those things. Because it's good to be yourself, it's also good to be mindful of our own actions and behaviors, the way we think and go about things. Um, and even with the Queen of Cups, there's a mirror there. And in a way that can give you of a reflection, because if somebody that you care deeply for, that you love, um, is reacting the way that reacting the way that kind of surprises you, maybe there is something to be said about that. And we could look at it at the other perspective too, if it's not um, your behavior, maybe it's their behavior, but of course there's always something on both sides. I feel like this is more of a relationship reading. As I say that, the obstacle is the Page of Cups, while the present is the Ace of Cups and the Sun card, which is actually a pretty glorified combination. And since I was saying it's a love reading, that's a pretty glorified combination for a love reading. And the Sun isn't that arguably the best card in the deck. And then you match it up, because this is also Leo energy coming in with the King of Wands to overcome the obstacle of the Page of Cups. There's also like a maybe a mistaken energy too of um like a selfishness. I mean, it could be that as well. But with Leo energy, there tends to be that perception of um, overly confident or being in the limelight or thinking about yourself. And that could be it too, but it could also be that misconception. But when it's matched up with the Ten of Swords, it's interesting because that's also how to overcome the obstacle of the Page of Cups. Because the Page of Cups isn't something that you want necessarily in the obstacle position, but since the other cards, I would say a little bit outweigh that because it's just such a the Tower cards at the bottom of the deck. So with that, it kind of feels like starting off from scratch. Like clearly, it feels like both energies want to work things out. Um, there's something that just grabs from the past, which maybe is why I saw the Six of Cups. It can be like a past card too, referring to the past in some way. Why it wanted to be reversed and why to the future, because it's able to grow without worry of needing to stick to just being a memory. And again, with the Tower card being associated with calling energy of that destructive behavior. Um, Sorry, it does sound a little bit of a paradox because I was talking about the Five of Swords and the Eight of Swords, and this person maybe not knowing the type of destructive hate behavior that he or she has. The Tower card can also give the impression too that something needs to be destroyed in order for a better foundation to be set again. And I say again, so this can be a repeating relationship. This could be somebody either coming out with an apology or wanting to make things right again and to move forward in some way with the other person that's in the Four of Wands. The Four of Cups came out for the third time in this deck. I'm sorry, there's the Four of Swords. So I was linking it to the Four of Swords, but I got Four of Cups. With the Three of Cups, that's the obstacle. And it could be interesting too because it could be ending certain behaviors that maybe they didn't think were, I wouldn't say inappropriate, but maybe that's what the environment felt like they were accustomed to. It could be people that are different in that way. Because the Three of Cups kind of, with the King of Wands and the Ten of Swords, it kind of looks like they were thinking maybe one person was looked at as like a player, and then the other person was like, I have no idea what I'm doing wrong. I'm showing my interest, and yet this person I thought liked me and is pulling back. It could be those characteristics that come out that are generally associated with the King of Wands. Because, yep, because in the past you have the Queen of Swords and the Knight of Swords, which honestly, like, good luck trying to tell them what to do. But maybe there's just such an independence and even that lone wolf energy that um, lack of maybe parental supervision that they're like, I taught myself how to ride a bike, I taught myself how to swim, I taught myself how to read even though I was in school. I read by the time I got into kindergarten. Um, I taught myself how to drive. I'm just naming the stuff that I did on my own. So it kind of gives that type of mentality. And also, this is also like an international area too. One of the people that were in the last apartment that I lived in, the guy that she was with, they were together since like high school, I think. And um, basically, some of the things that are more common in the US is definitely not common in Europe. And I mean, I don't think it's meant to try to be disrespectful, but not having that type of awareness of how uncommon that is. Because one of those things that's like more common here, that's I heard is not that common in other places. Um, I definitely prefer like one on one, but in America, it's not super uncommon for people to talk to multiple people at a time. And that also comes with like seeing that, oh, well, I did this for the last 8 people or whatever. Like I tried talking to them, thought that we were going somewhere just to find out that they were saying the same things to like 2 other people. And so you're like, okay, well, maybe my approach is like not good. But I would say if you have specific ideologies or just have faith in the things that you feel passionate about, especially, well, this is a relationship reading, passionate about your relationships. Like if, like certain groundwork, if you just want a one-on-one thing with a person, like I just say that specifically with dating. I don't say that like when you're actually in a relationship with a person, to make that clear. And I mean, if you felt like there were a lot of common interests and personality things that um, jived well with each other, I feel like that would be def definitely understandable for what I'm thinking. Um, just certain like behaviors that aren't common over there that is just not put into the spotlight for those things. So I'll pull out a couple more cards. I'm getting like it's hard to get their footing right, and also there can be a lack of wanting to move forward at least, or at least like a delay on moving forward because of this Ten of Wands. Because the Ten of Wands is like a heavy lifting card. In this card, it's depicted with matches, but just wanting to lug all that stuff around. And I think like you probably don't really want to do that. Um, just because with the Tower card comes to clarify the Page of Cups that's in the obstacle position, that to really clear what's there for the most part. I mean, maybe you want to keep some of those things, but I doubt it. And then just like work your way up again. I think that would be I think the most direct way. Of course, you don't take the easy way to do stuff in life. So there will be other things, and maybe that's why the Ten of Wands is coming up. Because if you keep doing the same things, sorry, this is a paradox. If you keep doing the same things, like your life isn't going to change. And that's why I think like change is so amazing for your life because it could change in so many ways. And maybe that's just me because I have so much Scorpio in my chart. And with that, like the symbolism of death and wanting to move forward with things and change as much that you can in your life. It has a fulfilling energy for me. Because it seems like not wanting to get rid of this bag. And it kind of reminds me of like how I'm moving, and I'm sorry, I talk about it a lot. How I'm moving, and then thinking like, oh, I'll take this and I'll take that. And honestly, I haven't touched most of my books, and maybe it's because um, I want stuff to invigorate me when I'm reading. I have mainly reference books in my academic bookshelf. I kind of want to bring those, but um, maybe I'll just put some in my parents' place and then ship the rest of them to Europe because if I'm not using them, what's the point of spending all that money to ship them overseas, which costs more? And so I really feel like the King of Wands is matched up with the Queen of Swords. And what's nice about this combination, you don't have to be these signs or like specific court cards, but generally fire and water. I'm sorry, I said fire and water, I meant fire and air. Um, Not fire and water, but maybe there's something to it since the cups are in the present too, or the cup is in the present and in the obstacle. Because the wands and the swords like up each other's antes. They just go together. Air and fire go together really well. And sometimes it can be too much. Like one amps the other up. And I've said this before, it's like a tornado. And it can be like that with words too. Um, Sometimes like maybe with the Queen of Swords, she sees the humor in situations and sometimes maybe takes it too far. Um, so, but then I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that because with all like the bullshit that you get in life, you just see the humor in it. And sometimes the humor is just like so deep and so maybe dark at times that some people are just like, well, damn, Adrian, why'd you make that joke? And I'm like, I'm sorry. But just so many like romantic cards because you have the Two of Cups and the Six of Swords. It's not necessarily romantic, but it's a good sign. And then you have the Nine of Wands. Like something is still there to want to for the people involved to want to keep going at this. Because you have the Six of Cups and the Six of Swords, which gives the impression of wanting to let maybe bygones be bygones and or to talk things through because it does feel like an argument that kind of dissipates with the Six of Swords or um, to really communicate because there's multiple people that are in the boat. So you're gonna have to do a lot of talking, um, or maybe not too much talking, maybe it's like confronting those things and realizing the things that went wrong, and then trial and error on things that could be done to alleviate or try to heal, or um, in a productive and healthy way to make sure that those things just don't have like a bandage on them, that they actually get healed. And then I'll pull out a couple more cards and then I'll end the reading. So many cups, because again, another page of cups with the knight of cups. The only one that's not here is the king of cups. Might be because the king of wands is there. And maybe the king of cups tried to match the queen of swords and realize, again, well, this is a Leo reading, but it could be any sign. Maybe it was originally, the person was originally a king of cups and then was thinking, I want to match the queen of swords energy because she does this, she does that, she acts like this, and her life's like this. I wanna be with her, and I wanna do all these things that she does. But I'm just like, well, I don't know what I said. In the reading, it's like, well, if she was with you since day one, and she liked you since day one, there must have been something that she liked about the King of Cups and not the King of Wands. But I mean, since it's in how to overcome the obstacle, maybe it's like a transmutation of it. So you could take it as you feel that what it is. This could also be in that perspective, since it's in how to overcome the obstacle of um, maybe it's not so bad, and I love this person enough to where I don't mind, and it has to be like willing on that person's end, not just like forced. I don't mind if this happens in our life as long as like we stick together and we go through it together, because again, hand in hand with air and fire. But as I said, a lot of cups, page of cups and knight of cups. Just so much, there's just such an abundance of love here that's pretty profound. It's like deep shit. So let me just get this and then I'll um finish off the reading. Wow. Another cup. So another queen of cups. Or yep, the Queen of Cups was in the Universal Folk Tarot, and now it's in the Tarot of the Golden Wheel. Well, I pulled it out of the Tarot of the Golden Wheel. Then there's the Six of Swords again, Eight of Wheels or Eight of Pentacles, and the Five of Wheels, Five of Pentacles. This kind of feels like looking back, because the child is looking back with the Six of Swords. Um, feel like with that Six of Swords, this child or this person in the card is somewhere where, but it would, this person would rather be somewhere else, which I feel like is linked to the Queen of Cups or linked to the Queen of Swords. Um, I feel like those two are one. So that could be another reason why there's slow movement with this partnership, and with the Eight of Wheels, that could be another thing of working. And honestly, I was getting like doing things by the book too. It was almost like a manual, and maybe there are mandatory things or things that you shouldn't do while you have this job. And then you have the Five of Wheels, and that could be, um, even though both the figures are in the card, it feels like one person's here and then the other person's there. In this job, it kind of like separates them. And then you have the Temperance card, though. There's still this peace about it, knowing that there's so many cups here that it just feels like, and directed cups, because of course there's other elements too, that directs it in a way where it's like they know that the other person has like a sense of like what's going on either side. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. I'll see you in another video.